Quorum being present, we're going to start the meeting. We have tellers appointed if we need them. It's kind of a light crowd tonight. We have Teresa Whitman, Rob Fitzgibbons, and Vicky Cataldo. If I get everyone to stand, we'll do a Pledge of Allegiance. We're over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. And stand one more minute. Having it being our 250th anniversary of the birthday of the United States, just want to wish everyone a happy birthday. Now you can sit down. The warrant has been posted in its proper locations. If you are a non-voter or unregistered or a non-resident, you should be over on the left-hand side of the room. If you don't have a card, you need to be over there. To vote, we're going to do cards, unless there's going to be a teller count, standing count. So when I ask, raise your card for yay or nay, please do that. If you could keep the chit-chat down. I can't hear a lot of the little conversations, but a lot of people can hear conversations, so they can't hear the speakers. So if you can keep the discussions to a minimum, that would be very helpful. I do have a request from the fire chief, and I believe maybe the police, fire, for reminding people to put numbers on your homes, on your street address, whether it's on your house itself or if you're in a long driveway at the front or end of the driveway. I'd like to thank the people that have already participated. I believe Sally's here. She was involved in that process. So if you just remember, it's very important that you get those numbers so that they can respond when they need to. I believe there are two zoning articles on number 14 and number 28. They will require a 2/3 vote. So when that happens, I believe I should ask the planning board if they had their public hearings on both of those articles. She has affirmed that they have. And you're going to respond to those when they come up? Perfect. Finance committee is here. That's not helpful. I will make a motion to waive the reading of the warrant. Is there a second? All those in favor? Thank you. Really need the finance. I guess we're going to start with Article 1 and wait for the Finance Committee because I had a question, just as I did with the planning board. So we'll start with Article 1, please.
Hello, everybody. Alvin Guerrero here. Article 1 is our fun article, my favorite of all. I, Alvin Guerrero, move that the town authorize the Board of Selectmen to appoint a surveyor and bark and lumber for bark and lumber.
Is there a second to that? Any discussion?
The only discussion is, will say that Brendan provided us with some information to let us know that in 2010, the Board of Selectmen had decided to continue this traditional motion. Thank you.
All those in favor of Article 1, raise your card. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Article 2.
Good evening, everyone. I, Peter D. Fippen, move that the town receive the reports of the town officials, boards, and committees contained in the annual town report, as you should all have.
Is there a second? Discussion.
No discussion.
Any discussion from anyone out here? Okay, all those in favor of Article 2, raise your card, please. Any opposed? The motion passes. Just want to remind everyone we have Drew Tarr, our new state representative. He replaced Ann Margaret. Thank you for coming. Article 3. You can't skip it.
Mr. Moderator, if we could move to 5 until the FinCom gets here?
Is that a motion to move Article 5 before
Please.
Article 3?
Please.
Is there a second to that? All those in favor of moving Article 5 before Article 3? Any opposed? So moved. Article 5.
Good evening. My name is Robert Teal. I'm the Essex School Committee member to the Tech School. I, Robert Teal, move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $127 to pay the town's share of the operation and capital cost of the Essex North Shore Agricultural Technical School District for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2026.
Is there a second? Any discussion? See none. All those in favor of Article 5, please raise your card. Any opposed? The motion passes.
Mr. Moderator, we're going to move to Article 8.
Is that a motion to move Article 8 before
Please.
Article 3? Is there a second? All those in favor of moving Article 8 before 3, raise your card. Any opposed?
I, Eldon Guerrero, move that the town vote to approve the wage and salary scale for fiscal year 2027 in accordance with the recommendation of the Personnel Board report.
Any discussion?
If you look at the report, you will see that the, some areas that we're looking at moving were for the Council on Aging and for the library. But so no real
Okay.
discussion.
Any other discussion? Ed? Yes, it was.
Mr. Moderator, I, Edward Neal, move that the town vote to amend Article 8, the wage and salary scale for 2027, by deleting under the heading Fire Department, the first line, Fire Captain, Fire Prevention Officer, minimum $90,000, maximum $120,000.
Heard there's a second?
Am I recognized?
I'm just trying to make sure I can speak.
Okay.
You're recognized, Ed.
Thank you. Before I fully don this hair shirt, I want to share my bona fides. I was a firefighter EMT for 10 years in the 80s and 90s, and my son recently completed over 10 years as a firefighter EMT. I was the chief of the auxiliary fire department for a few years back when we had one. I have the greatest respect and gratitude for our first responders and didn't need to see the heroics of the recent river rescue to appreciate the courage and dedication that they demonstrate regularly. For over 20 years, we've been periodically told that we need one or more full-time firefighters due to fewer able individuals working in town. The usual pressing issues were the necessary paperwork and inspections that needed to be done. Most recently, it was asserted that we needed full-time staff due to the number of medical calls, until research revealed that even departments with many full-time firemen contract out their ambulance services as more economical than hiring staff. In those same 20 years, I am unaware of any calamity resulting from a lack of a full-time department or our first responders letting us down. Improving this wage and salary scale would be the first step towards a full-time fire department, and the issue deserves more consideration than having the question buried in the wage and salary scale. When I was on the department, every Thursday evening and Sunday morning, firemen would come to the station and perform a variety of menial tasks like washing the trucks, checking and filling the SCBA air bottles and water tanks on the trucks, as well as just driving the trucks around to keep everything lubricated. This was all done for free, time donated to the town by willing volunteers. My experience with departments that have transitioned to full-time employees is that the volunteer incentive diminishes. Why should volunteers do this work when the town is paying for men to man the station? Inevitably, friction grows between the full-time and call men, with the full-timers considering themselves as professionals and treating veterans of the call department as amateurs. This is bad for the department and the town because it leads to call men retiring, creating a need for more full-timers. This is a small town, and we do not have the tax base to support a full-time department. To date, the town has done a good job of addressing the manning problem by hiring part-time men from other departments or hiring young men who want to be firemen, and we train them and give them the experience that makes them desirable to other surrounding full-time departments. This is a win-win for the fire service overall. As for the inspections, we have part-time building, plumbing, electrical, animal health, restaurant, and public nurse inspection services. I see no reason why the fire inspection services should be handled in a different manner. They certainly are not reason to create full-time employees with the health care, vacation, sick pay, and retirement expenses that go along with it. If you support my amendment, it will not be the end of this issue, but may facilitate a more open and honest debate than has occurred so far. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment to Article 8?
Belcher Street. I thought about this earlier, and it was, glad Ed got up and spoke. I've always supported the fire department wholeheartedly. I think we've had a great group of men and women involved, but and when the building was built and we tore down the old building, I remember that the whisper in my ear was, "If you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come." What does that mean? It means what Ed's talking about. This thing is growing bigger than it should, and the volunteerism isn't there as much as it used to be. But I think this is also a little bit of subterfuge, putting this in an article where it's almost impossible to see. Ed did his homework, and that's how we found it. So I'm going to support the amendment.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
I think you should reject this amendment and discuss the value of the position. Would love it if someone from the fire department could come up and speak to it, but Essex is not what it was 20 years ago, and I think expecting volunteers to address the needs that are of regulations and expecting those folks to have full-time jobs and to do this sort of regulatory compliance is not realistic and not fair of volunteers. So I would love for somebody from the fire department to come up and speak to this, but I would encourage you to vote against Mr. Neal's amendment.
Further discussion?
Good evening. I'm Christian Hassel, Essex Fire Chief. So I think Mr. Neal makes some good points. We do have strong volunteerism within the Essex Fire Department. It's been a point of pride for the town and the department for quite some time. This position is not to disrupt but more to enhance that volunteerism. We have regulations that have changed. We have OSHA and FPA standards that we need to abide by. And it becomes more and more difficult to manage a department of 49 people at this time, and manage the needs of the town and manage the inspection process as well. This person is not designed to be just a fire inspector. They are going to be a frontline responder as well as a fire inspector. We already staff the station 7 days a week with 2 people who are call firefighters at this time. So offering this or adding this position allows for consistency 5 days a week. When you're trying to manage a department and move it forward and meet different initiatives, it's very difficult to do it with 2 hours in the morning from say 6 to 8 a.m. when I'm in the office. Regardless of how many fantastic people we have on the department, it is very important to have someone who can be a clearinghouse for us and actually get the work done 5 days a week and be consistent and have oversight, let alone the efficiencies that someone who's full-time in the department and having some oversight will add to the duty group in general. We want to make sure that we are adequately trained, if not overly adequately trained, and be ready to go for any emergency. It has happened in the past that Essex has not been able to respond to a call because of a lack of manpower. It's not something we're proud of, but it is the reality. Over the last year, we've worked very hard to move away from that, and we've done much better with it, but it has happened in the past, and we don't want that to happen again. We see this as a good step forward, a reasonable step forward, to allow the fire department to remain call for years to come. I consider myself a career call guy, meaning I want to be a call person the rest of my life. I don't necessarily want to be the chief the rest of my life, but we have, this person would be kind of a step forward in a succession plan to still maintain the department the way it operates now while providing that support that we need. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? So no discussion. So all those in favor of just the amendment to Article 8, raise your card. Opposed? The amendment does not pass. Back to Article 8 as it is. Any discussion on Article 8? All those in favor of Article 8, raise your card. All those opposed? Article passes. Back to Article 3.
Just want to reconsider this to close out procedurally this article. Oh, you didn't hear any of that? Hi, Alvin Gajaro. I'd like to reconsider this vote.
It's a motion to reconsider.
Motion
the
to
vote on
reconsider.
Article 8.
Article 8, please. The main motion, right?
Yes.
The main motion, yeah. Thank you.
Is there a second to that? Any discussion on reconsider? This is a 2/3 vote. All those that want to reconsider Article 8, please raise your card. All those opposed? The motion does not pass by enough. Okay, Article 3. Article 3.
I, Ruth Perrine, move.
Before we get, so normally I ask the Finance Committee if they support the financial articles. I think there's about 20 of them. So you've approved all of them? Yes?
Jody Harris, Finance Committee. We recommend all of the financial articles to town meeting. We recommended the 2 override articles to be put before the taxpayers for their vote.
Okay, Article 3.
I, Ruth Perrine, move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $268,722 For the purpose of supplementing the town of Essex's fiscal year 2027 operating budget, provided that the amount authorized herein shall be contingent upon the vote at the town election to assess additional real estate and personal property taxes in accordance with the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so-called.
Is there a second? Discussion.
This evening, the town Ruth Perrine, 15 Lufkin Street. This evening, the town meeting is being asked to consider and support a Proposition 2.5 override in the amount of $268,722 in additional real estate and personal property taxes. These funds are intended to supplement the town of Essex's operating budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026. It's important to note that the town of Essex has not passed an operational override in more than 20 years. During that time, the cost of nearly every essential expense, utilities, goods, and services, has risen significantly. While residents have felt the strain of these increases in their daily lives, the town has similarly faced rising costs in maintaining services, compensating employees, and meeting regulatory obligations. There's been some misunderstanding regarding the purpose of this override. It is not solely driven by the fire department. While fire services represent a significant portion of the request, multiple factors contribute to the overall need. For example, the town's health insurance costs increased by 14.4%. In recent decisions regarding employee compensation, including adjustments for the Department of Public Works and the senior center staff, reflect the necessity of retaining competitive in attracting and retaining qualified personnel. Without appropriate investment in our workforce, the town risks losing employees who have proven essential services to our community. With respect to the fire department, it's critical to understand that this is not a new or sudden request. The need for additional staffing has been raised multiple times over several years. Former Fire Chief Dan Dowsett advocated for the addition of a full-time position on more than one occasion, including again in 2019. That request was not approved. At the time, a commitment was made by the Board of Selectmen that the next full-time public safety hire would be for the fire department. However, that commitment was not fulfilled when a full-time police officer was subsequently hired. Under the leadership of the current Fire Chief Christian Hassel, appointed in 2025, the department has reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining a call volunteer fire service model for as long as possible. The request before town meeting is not to transition to a fully staffed full-time department, but rather represents a targeted and necessary step, the addition of a single full-time firefighter EMT to provide day coverage when call member availability is often limited. Recent communications to residents have suggested that this override represents a move to a fully full-time fire department. That characterization is inaccurate. The department's 48 call firefighters remain committed to sustaining this model well into the future. In fact, this request is intended to help preserve that model by addressing increasing operational demands, including administrative workload, compliance with evolving regulations and NFPA standards, training requirements, and equipment maintenance. It's also worth noting that the fire department experienced a 12.49% budget reduction from $308,205 to $267,107, which significantly altered the funding trajectory. Had the department's budget followed its historical 10-year growth trend, the projected shortfall for fiscal 26 would have been substantially smaller prior to recent compensation adjustments. In summary, this override is not new or an isolated request, nor is it driven by a single department. It reflects a combination of rising costs, long-standing staffing needs, and the town's responsibility to maintain essential services. Supporting this measure is an investment in the sustainability, safety, and operational stability of the town of Essex.
Ruth, I'm not sure I got a second because you transferred right to, so.
Sorry.
Can we get a second on that? Thank you. Any further discussion? I think I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go there. Up here?
Since no one seconded, should she read again?
Nope, it's good.
All right. Good evening. Christian Hassel, Essex Fire Chief, in case someone's walked in late. I'm here tonight because the demands of the Essex Fire Department have changed dramatically. We responded to more than 600 incidents last year, and we're already on pace to match that this year. But it's just not it's not just the volume, it's the complexity. Modern fires, hazardous materials, lithium-ion batteries, medical calls, and the regulatory requirements we must meet to keep our firefighters safe have grown substantially. Our call department is talented, committed, and the foundation of how Essex provides fire and EMS service. This proposal isn't about replacing that model, it's about preserving it. A full-time fire prevention officer gives us the capacity to train and learn how to read. Yeah, or glasses. Support and oversee the work that today's standards require, while continuing to provide reliable weekday response. This is a strategic, cost-conscious step that strengthens the call department, improves safety, and ensures we can continue delivering the level of service this community expects and deserves.
Brian Gressler, 30 Choate Street. Mr. Moderator, I rise in support of this article, not because I'm a fan of raising taxes, but because this override is the logical next step in the financial strategy town leadership has chosen. That doesn't mean I support that strategy or the way it's been communicated, but the remedy for that is not a no vote on this article. The remedy for that is to change leadership. As it relates to this article, we just need to move forward. For a number of years, the town has taken an austerity approach to the town general budget, but austerity is a short-term solution. Eventually, whether we like it or not, the pendulum swings back and bills come due. That correction began last year when the town general budget increased by 5.6%. This increase was largely obscured by the way the school override was structured and by the use of one-time revenue. But at the candidate forum last year for Board of Selectmen, I asked the then chair of the board how we would continue paying for that increase this year, and her answer was that an override would likely be needed. So when we combine years of austerity, last year's approach, and continued corrections this year, contributing to an 8.1% increase, no one should be surprised by this override. Further, to date, corrections have focused largely on public safety, which I think most of us generally support. That being said, there are still other departments and services that have not been addressed. With that in mind, Mr. Moderator, and given that town leadership has provided limited public information compared to what many towns provide when recommending an override, whether on the town website, through public forums, or through other allowable means, I did have one question for the board of the Finance Committee. If this override does not pass, how does town leadership plan to account for the $268,000 shortfall? Is the plan to use reserves for 1 year or multiple years to make cuts, or some combination of both? If cuts are part of the plan, what specifically will be cut?
Jody Harris. That was actually what our discussion was prior to this meeting. I believe that at this point, we would look to make cuts within the current budget. We would not be looking to use one-time funds to fund this budget as their operating costs. So we would have to look back into the fire budget and any other large budget in town that would be discussed among the Finance Committee and those department heads.
Further discussion? Up here? Anyone? Nothing? Okay. Ed?
Ed Neal, 15 Western. So what's happened here is that we've got an override article in front of us, and the Finance Committee tells us it's not about the fire department. But the only department that got up and talked about it is the fire department. And now we're told that, well, if the override doesn't pass, and the override, almost half of it, is dedicated to this new position of fire inspector, then they're not going to change their mind about that. They're going to cut the rest of the budget. So by not agreeing to my amendment, we're putting a hurt on the rest of the town. Instead of getting a clear decision about the override and the new position on the fire department, it's all being jumbled together, and it's not by accident. Thank you.
Further discussion on Article 3? All those in favor of Article 3, raise your card. All those opposed? The motion passes. Article 4.
I, Michael Flynn, move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $10,509,998 as follows. A, to raise by taxation the sum of $1,949,364 for debt repayment, principal, and interest. B, transfer from the cemetery sale of lots fund the sum of $6,800 to the cemetery budget. C, transfer from the cemetery lot care fund the sum of $6,575 to the cemetery budget. D, transfer from the cemetery perpetual care fund the sum of $5,334 to the cemetery budget. E, transfer from the town technology fund the sum of $15,500 to the town IT budget. F, transfer from the ambulance fund the sum of $75,000 to the ambulance budget. G, transfer from the septic betterment fund the sum of $27,980 for debt. H, transfer from the waterways fund the sum of $58,479 to the harbor master budget. I, transfer from the wetlands fund to the sum of $3,500 to the Conservation Commission budget. And J, to raise by taxation the sum of $8,361,466, all in combination with the non-property tax revenue sources noted on pages 9 and 10 in the Finance Committee report, to be allocated between the salaries and expenses of the town according to the remaining budget items as indicated in the Finance Committee report, and to authorize the Finance Committee to permit budget line item transfers within the department from salary line items to salary lines and from expense lines to expense lines. That's a mouthful,
Hold on, is there a second?
This is the general budget, short of a school budget. It is something we talk about every year. It is something that is about half of our town budget.
Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 4, raise your card. All those opposed? The motion passes. Article 6. Could have got your mic.
Thank you. I, Kate Koch-Sundquist, move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $185,727 for the purpose of supplementing the Manchester Essex Regional School District's fiscal year 2027 assessment, provided that the amount authorized herein shall be contingent upon the vote at the town election to assess additional real estate and personal property taxes in accordance with the provisions of Proposition 2.5, so called.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee for your continued partnership and collaboration. This year, we are particularly grateful to the Board of Selectmen who, for the first time in my tenure, took a majority affirmative vote to endorse the district override. I also want to thank the residents of Essex for your ongoing support of our schools and our students. The Manchester Essex Regional School District continues to be a place where students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. We do not aim to compete with the top private schools that surround our community, but we do aim to provide the best public education possible with the resources available from both member towns. I truly believe that we do an amazing job of that thanks to the strength of our staff and the shared support of our communities, both Manchester and Essex. The fiscal year 27 proposed budget is $33.7 million, representing a 3.5% increase over last year. This is a level services budget that will maintain current programming, staffing, and student supports without adding any bells and whistles or cutting any necessities. As was the case last year, approximately 80% of our budget is dedicated to salaries and benefits. Costs in areas such as special education, transportation, and employee benefits continue to rise and are largely outside of the district's direct control. For this reason, and the reasons already outlined by FinCom member Ruth Perrine, growth exceeds the limitations of Prop 2.5. Still, this year's budget reflects a balanced, responsible use of resources. The planned use of $600,000 in reserves, as well as a measured adjustment to our annual OPEB contribution, reflects our thoughtful leverage of financial tools within a multi-year plan to reduce the burden on taxpayers. This allows us to make progress toward both our long-term financial obligations and the priorities outlined in our strategic plan. And of course, looking ahead, we are excited to continue our work on the Essex Elementary Building Project. This project will benefit all students in our district, but especially those who live here in our town. It will also benefit all of us here tonight, not just by reflecting a capital investment right here where we gather, but also by providing a community space for recreation, a home for pre-K students in our own town, and a meeting space which, dare I say, may even provide better comfort and acoustics than those we enjoy tonight under the hallowed peaks of Mount Can-Do. The Essex Elementary Building Project represents the final phase of a multi-year capital improvement plan that began with the middle high school. As a regional district, our work depends on the strength, commitment, and compromise of both communities and the decisions we make together. We remain committed to maintaining a high-quality educational program while managing resources responsibly and transparently. On behalf of the school committee and the entire Manchester Essex School Committee, thank you for your continued support of our schools and our students.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 6, raise your card. Any opposed? The motion passes. This article and the other override article will be showing up on the ballot on Monday. Just a reminder that it's two-step process in passing this, so it's got to pass here, and it has to pass at the ballot on Monday. On the 11th, is it? Monday. Article 7.
I, Kate Koch-Sundquist, move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,948,841 to fund a portion of the town's assessment from the Manchester Essex Regional School District. Said sum to be calculated solely in accordance with the agreement between the towns of Essex and Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts, with respect to the formation of a regional school district, as most recently amended by invoking and approving the provision found in paragraph 4 of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 71, Section 16B, allowing district members to reallocate the sum of their required local contributions to the district in accordance with the regional agreement for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026.
Discussion.
No further discussion from me. I've said enough.
Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 7, raise your card. All those opposed? The motion passes. Article 9.
Sorry. Can I make a motion to reconsider Article 3?
You can.
Yep. I, Brian Gressler, move to reconsider Article 3.
Article 3.
Town override.
The town override. Is there a second to that motion for amend?
We didn't do that one. We did the bridge.
Discussion? No discussion? All those in favor of reconsidering Article 3, raise your card. All those opposed? Motion does not pass to reconsider.
One more. I, Brian Gressler, move to reconsider Article 6.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Any discussion? That's the second override. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 6, raise your card. All those opposed? Reconsider does not pass.
Thank you.
Article 9.
I, Elvin Guerrero, Martin Street. Move that the town fix the salary and compensation for each elected official, officer of the town required by the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 108, as amended for fiscal year 2027 in accordance with the recommendation of the Personnel Board report.
Is there a second?
I have no discussion on this, no changes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Article 9, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 10.
I, Nick Ellis, move that Article 10 be indefinitely postponed.
Is there a second? All those in favor of postponing Article 10? Opposed? Passes. Article 11.
I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,249,395 for the fiscal year 2027 sewer enterprise fund budget as follows. Debt repayment, principal and interest, the sum of $129,504 to be raised by taxation, and funds to be allocated between the salaries and expenses of the sewer department, $1,119,891 from department receipts, all as indicated in the Finance Committee report, and to authorize the Finance Committee to permit budget line item transfers within the sewer department from salary lines to salary lines and from expense lines to expense lines. This is to fund our sewer operating budget.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Article 12.
I, Nick Ellis, move that Article 12 be indefinitely postponed.
Is there a second? All those in favor of postponing Article 12, raise your card. Any opposed? Motion passes to postpone. Article 13.
I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $1,051,804 for the fiscal year 2027 Water Enterprise Fund budget as follows. A, debt repayment, principal and interest, the sum of $81,289 from departmental receipts, and the sum of $34,839 to be raised by taxation. And B, funds to be allocated between the salaries and expenses of the water department, $935,676 from department receipts, all as indicated in the Finance Committee report, and to authorize the Finance Committee to permit line item transfers within the water department from salary lines to salary lines and from expense lines to expense lines.
Second. Discussion?
This is to fund our water budget.
All those in favor of Article 13, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 14.
I, Lisa O'Donnell, am here for one article tonight. Move that the town vote to amend the town zoning bylaw 6-10.2.1, membership and organization as shown in Article 14 of the warrant. And in the warrant, you'll see there is one bold-faced sentence that reads, "The planning board shall designate and recommend individuals for appointment as associate members, and such appointment shall be made by majority vote of the planning board and board of selectmen." So this just establishes how those associate members are appointed.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? No? Further discussion? Yeah.
So Lisa, in the planning board, can you explain the why an alternate is something that you feel that is needed?
We already established the alternate last fall as one of the articles that passed, but when a special permit comes in front of the planning board, if a member of the planning board isn't a butter or has a conflict or might be going on vacation and miss one of the meetings of the hearing, they can't sit in that decision. Special permits require a supermajority, so we need 5 of 7 votes. So what this would do is it'll give the opportunity for the planning board to have an associate member come in and fill the spot of a planning board member who's unable to sit. So we already established that at the last meeting, but what this does is confirms how that appointment is made. So people who are interested in being an associate would be selected by the planning board. Planning board would recommend that to themselves and the selectmen and the planning board jointly take a vote to make those appointments, which is how it's done for, no. It's how, like if a planning board member steps down, that's the exact same process we use to replace a planning board member if we have to fill a vacancy.
Any further discussion? This requires 2/3, so all those in favor of Article 14, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes by 2/3. Article 15.
I, Peter D. Fippen, move that the town vote to amend the town bylaws by revising Section 4-4A.4 as shown in Article 15 of the warrant.
Is there a second? Discussion?
So this is to bring the mooring permit bylaw in line with the regulations, which is to have the mooring permits effective April 1st to December 31st.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Article 15, please raise your card. All those opposed, the motion passes. Article 16.
Me again. Okay, so I, Alvin Guerrero, move that the town vote to amend the town bylaw by adding a new section 4-4A.8 river use fee, as shown in the Article 16 of the warrant, with addition the following changes. A, to insert the word motorized between the word any and the word vessel in the first sentence, and B, but this bylaw shall become effective January 1st, 2027, correct? You said 26, but it's 27? 27, sorry. 2027.
Second?
I did, I marked it.
Discussion?
I have the chief here to respond. Also the harbor master. Thank you.
Good evening, Tom Shamshak, Chief of Police and the Harbor Master. So I have a little breakdown. History. Essex had established a waterway fund decades ago. It is supposed to be funded by any and all mooring fees, user fees, 50% of excise or other waterway generated revenue to be able to fund the waterway services. This account funds maintenance, such as replacing buoys or repairing boats, infrastructure, such as dock floats, chains, ramps, and can cover salary services to patrol all bodies of water in a jurisdiction. When I took over July 1st of 2025, the budget had been cut from just over $78,000 to $39,000. Harbor and waterways need appropriate funding. For example, last season the town float broke a mooring chain. The chain alone was over $1,000. There was only $500 appropriated to fund the entire dock and float maintenance line for the entire season. Why is this user fee being explored? Many municipalities use fees as a funding source to help establish an enterprise fund, or as close to self-sustaining as it can be, to fund the services that a waterway demands. Over the last season, I have been asked by the Board of Selectmen to explore various other municipalities' fees and present them the findings so that they could present an article on the warrant. Who is paying fees? Currently, the boaters at a marina do not pay fees. Essex is one of the only towns that I could find that does not assess a general waterway fee or user fee or some other uniform fee to all users. Excise is entirely different. It's set by the state, and only 50% of people that actually pay it is deposited into the fund. The only people assessed Town of Essex fees are mooring holders, dinghy dock slips, kayak slip renters, or non-resident launch pass holders. Slip holders or seasonal private launch members, whether resident or non-resident, do not pay any user fee or waterway fee to Essex. They may or may not pay excise. The marinas sometimes do or sometimes do not provide the list of boats on slips for excise compliance. Last July, we found numerous boats that are habitually docked at some marinas but are registered out of state or had been unregistered or expired as far back as 2007. This will not trigger an excise bill, yet the boat is using the river and waterways infrastructure and services. The town is rightfully owed excise tax if a boat is habitually moored, docked, stored, or used in the waters here. Examples of other municipalities' fees. Beverly assesses fees to moored boats or boats on marina slips at $7 a foot. Salem assesses fees for moorings and also slips at $7 a foot. Danvers assesses fees for moorings and slips, and the fees vary for resident or non-resident. The town of Winthrop assesses a flat waterway fee to residents of $250 and $300 for non-residents for moorings and slips. Salisbury assesses fees for all boats, both moorings or slips, at $5 a foot. Manchester assesses $12.50 a foot for a mooring permit and also $12.50 a foot for slips. The article. The ask of this article is not out of the ordinary. These fees collected shall be deposited into the waterway fund to be appropriated for waterway needs. It legally cannot be used for anything else. That is the purpose of the fund, and it is funded by these types of user fees. I've received questions such as, I am retired and on a fixed income and do not have a boat. Why should my taxes to go up to buy new buoys or pay for waterway patrols when I'm not out there? The answer to this is to go for a user fee funding source. If we assess all users some type of fee that goes into the waterway fund, the ultimate goal is to minimize taxation. We want to fund the waterway fees with user fees. I have also been told that we are unfairly targeting boaters that choose to get slips or valet or seasonal launch passes at marinas. I've been told to increase mooring fees on mooring holders and do not charge fees to slip holders. After brief research, it would seem that almost everywhere else is charging the slip fees or marina fees. Manchester, Salem, and Beverly pay the same fee for slips and moorings. Salisbury charges more than a mooring fee. Winthrop pays a flat fee, resident status dependent. Danvers pays less for a slip or rack fee. Essex is asking for less of a fee at $5 a foot compared to the $8 a foot for moorings. How would this be captured? Through DOCWA, issued the same color sticker as everyone else in town to be displayed in the same manner. I do not expect this to be enforced by the marina owners. This will be paid to the town in DOCWA, deposited into the waterway fund, and we will mail them stickers.
Further discussion?
Is it on? Betsy Ridge, Sauganese Road, 22 Sauganese Road. I think that this is illuminating, and I'm glad you discussed this. I think that the slip fees make a lot of sense, but I'm wondering about extra taxes towards Essex residents, because I think there are some people in this town who actually don't have to use slips or other means to get their kayaks out onto the river. And this sounds like it would apply to Essex residents. I think that this is a great way of raising revenue from non-residents, but I think that it should be applied to slip owners and or renters and not to the general. So if you think that needs an amendment, I would do that.
Mr. Moderator, that was specifically amended to include motorized vessels only, not apply to kayaks.
Correct. Further discussion? Scott, I think you were up.
Yes, Scott Woodward, 25 Belcher Street. I have a couple issues with this. I do own Pike Marine. You have first line is no person shall use or allow another to use any vessel. Who is the person that's going to use or allow someone else not to use that vessel? Who's going to enforce that to say you can't use that vessel?
Is that a question for the
That's a
harbor
question for
master?
the chief.
Okay.
It would be the same as if you allowed somebody to use your vehicle that you own. Hey, take my vehicle for the weekend, take my boat for the weekend.
So they're going to be liable for it, not the marina owners or anyone else that's on the dock?
Correct. It would not be, the marine owners would have nothing to do with this. It would be purely a town of Essex registration through DOCWA.
Okay, next question. You do not have moorings included in this. You did raise your mooring rate this year from, what, $5 to $8 a foot? Now, if you take this $5.50 a foot or $5 a foot off of that, and they're not paying this fee, they're back down to $3 a foot, so they're getting a deal.
That's a comment, not a question.
Okay, why?
That's a question.
So we're not taking it off. There were exemptions. Some municipalities charge everybody, some don't, some are category specific. It varies, but every municipality charges some type of fee. We were so far behind, we thought we were in the lead. That's the only way.
I mean, I've gone through a lot of the towns that have done this, and a lot of the towns charge dock and mooring the user fee.
Correct.
Both, not just one, both of them. And we're not charging a mooring fee, a mooring user fee for the river.
Correct. Many municipalities have different ways of doing it.
So now you're taking it to the people that are trailering boats and the ones that are on the docks, and they have to pay it. And the ones that are on moorings that come from out of town don't have to pay it. And they're still using our waterways.
That's a statement. Honestly, I'm trying to avoid a conversation.
Wait a minute, let me fix it. And they're still using our waterways, right?
So a prime example is somebody has a slip, say at your marina.
Yep.
They live in Wakefield, Massachusetts, but their boat is registered in New Hampshire. They're skirting excise, they're also skirting town fees.
Under Mass General Laws, Chapter 60B, Section 2, boat owners must file a return on or before August 1st to the city or town where the vessel is habitually moored, docked, or principally situated. That's law. That's mass law. So if it's on my dock, the boat owner is responsible to do this.
Statement.
The boat owner is responsible to do this, right?
Correct. Some municipalities and marinas have cooperation, but we understand it could put marina owners in a odd position to demand compliance from their customers. So it would be enforced as a harbor
I mean,
function.
that's excise tax, I get that, but who's going to enforce that?
Who's going to enforce which?
Collecting the excise tax on the boats that are on the docks or even on the moorings,
So-
staters and everything else.
So when they register in DACWA, it will generate that this is their principal place of mooring. It's on them to file an abatement if they feel that they don't.
There's the whole problem right there. It's on them, and they're not going to do it.
Any further comments?
No, I think I got it. I think I made a point.
Thank you. I'm not trying to limit the discussion. I'm trying to limit a conversation that way. I think I'm going to go with Katie.
Kate Koch-Sunquist, 8 Dodge Street. I move to amend the article. I would like to add to section 4-48 4-4A.8.2. That section is the exceptions. I would like to add boat operators below the age of 18 and over the age of 65. My reason for doing so is I think that everybody should be able to access our river. I think it is an amazing natural resource. I personally have a 14-year-old who bought his boat with his own money. He pays his taxes with his own money, which is not much, but adding $70-something onto that represents a significant expense for him, as I think it would for people on a fixed income or other youth who are interested in getting out on the water, which is a great thing.
Is there a second to that amendment? And that was not charging less than 18 or over 65? Was that what that was? Correct. Do you have that in writing? Is there discussion on that? Amendment, not the main article, but the amendment to limit the age below 18 and above 65, not falling into this. You have a
Question, how do we enforce operator versus owner?
motion was operated, right?
The reason that I say operator and not owner is because anybody who owns a boat, if an adult owns a boat and plans to be operating it themselves, they will still need to have the sticker or whatever it is affixed to their boat. If the only person operating that boat is 18 or below, you wouldn't have it on your boat. But if I wanted to take my son's boat out, I'm not skirting the rule because I'm over 18. So I would still need to have the sticker affixed to his boat. If the only person operating his boat is him, then he would not need to pay that.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
You wouldn't be able to take the sticker on or off.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that what it would do would be allow my son to take his boat out, but not allow me to take his boat out. If I want to go out on the river, I'm paying to put the sticker on my boat.
Further discussion? I think, no, actually, I'm going to go over here. I think you were standing. I didn't.
Well, I technically.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's registered.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Stuart Pratt, 15 Tree Hill, Essex, Mass. I don't think I'm in favor of this amendment. I think it's offering up an opportunity for people to get around paying the fee. Because if you have someone like myself who's over the age of 65 and has a son who is 45, I'll just register the boat for myself, theoretically, and he can use it. And I think the least amount of problems we give to the chief in making sure this works for the town, which needs the income, the better. So I would say I'm against this.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
So it's not who the boat is registered to, it is who is operating the boat.
That's your motion, yes.
Yes. So then you couldn't register the boat under your older parent's name and skirt the rule if you plan to operate the boat yourself.
If the operator is pulled over, he's probably going to pay the fee if he doesn't have a sticker.
Right.
Or if he's under 18. Any further discussion on the amendment?
Hello? Okay. What if someone under 18 is on the boat with someone over 18? And I'm riding my boat down the river and I see the harbor master and I go, oh, drive.
To be clear, I'm not the harbor master.
No,
So
I see him, he's behind you.
that's easy, right? Because if you use that boat sometimes, you're going to have a sticker on it anyway because you're over 18. If the only time you ever use that boat is with somebody who is below the age of 18, then you wouldn't have the sticker.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Oh, we have someone. Gilly.
Gil Frieden, 104 John Wise Ave. It sounds like this amendment will probably not help almost anyone, but because there's going to be, my mom is 82, but if she registered my boat and I wanted to drive it, we'd buy the sticker anyways, so it doesn't matter. But there will be a very few exceptions to this rule that will be able to benefit for it. And as someone who loves the senior center and loves all the people that go there, I say we pass this amendment. It's going to be very seldom used, but it may benefit a couple of seniors and a couple of 14-year-olds, and that's what we're here for.
Further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of amending Article 16 to add the age limit, raise your card. Opposed? Can we do that again? All those in favor of amending Article 16, raise your card. All those opposed? Gonna need the tellers.
I'm going to talk to Kate, because I want to know where she wants that.
So, as soon as we get the tellers up here. So, can we keep it down a bit so we can get organized and get this over with? How many? So they're gonna have to walk and count, so if you could Raise your card if you are in favor of amending Article 16. Hold them up because they've got to count. Someone threw that out there. It shouldn't be up there. That should be up there. I'm reading your amendment. I'm going to rule it out of scope. There's too many changes to it. People that looked at the original article are going to say, well, I had known something else was going to be on there, and there's enough change, and they didn't come. That's not fair. So I'm going to rule it out of scope. It's what? It's not, well, I have to make it fair for everyone that either was here or not here because they read the article, and that amendment changes it too much. I understand, but it changes too much of the original article. Keep your cards up. Donating your car? Still a yay vote for the amendment. Keep your card up. What? They're done now? Okay. Okay, so now we need all those voting no on the amendment. Raise your card, please. This is you're holding your card for the no vote on the amendment. I'm sorry. I suggest that he postpone this whole thing and have a public forum on it. I'm hoping he may. Still, he still has a chance to do that. Keep your cards up so they can see them. 22. We need 22 for another. Correct? 40, 50, 60, so you're at 60, 50, 72, 89, so 19. We need 19 for it. What is it? You're good? Oh, so the only number you don't have is this one? It's going to fit. By a lot. I didn't think it was that close. I don't know. It looked. Yeah. Right. I'm not getting involved with it. I'm staying in my lane. Okay, everybody, get back to order here. The vote to amend failed 91 to 115. So now we'll move on to the main article, 16. Further discussion on Article 16? Ed?
I just wanted to touch on one thing that's kind of been glossed over. The boat excise tax, 50% of it's being taken by the town and spent on the general fund. That's all.
Jim?
Jim Lewicki, Belcher Street. Just clarification on the scope of applicability. So will all the clammers who launch in Essex have to pay the fee, and how does it apply to the commercial operations like Essex River Cruises and to, say, the Shipbuilding Museum, who may launch vessels randomly at any time?
Correct.
Thanks.
So unless there's some tax exemption based on a status that you file, everybody would have to pay this, a one-time seasonal fee.
Ted?
Ted Marshall, Pickering Street, and the owner of Agawam Boat and Fishing Charters here in town. I've been in the marine industry now for something like 45 years, and I'm very familiar with Marblehead, Beverly, Salem, Danvers, and how they do their permits. We are the only town, as he says, that does not collect a fee on all the boats in their territory. So I'm not against it totally. It sounds to me, A, this DOCWA thing for my mooring is royal pain in the butt, for one. It just means they don't have to do it, and they send it to DOCWA, and I don't know what DOCWA charges the town, but they send me weekly emails of all kinds of crap that I don't appreciate. I don't understand why we have never collected fees on boats at the marinas. That makes absolutely no sense to me if they were using our waterway. It sounds like a enforcement headache, Maximus, with our river, with all the boats that come in here to go to the beach and upriver to the restaurants and everything else. How are you going to tell who's an Essex resident or not if you're out in the patrol boat and you don't see a sticker on the back of the boat because they're from Newburyport or wherever else? You're going to stop every boat coming up and down the river? I mean, it's, you know, kind of a crazy thing. So if you get every boat that's habitually here in Essex and you charge them the same fee as a mooring fee, I pay my mooring fee happily. I also have a dock. Does that mean I'm going to have to pay a mooring fee and a dock fee on top of my dock rental? I mean, there's a lot of funny stuff. I've read everything that was promoted in the paper and in this stuff, and it doesn't make a great deal of sense. It's too overly complicated.
Was there a question in there? Okay, I just want to make sure you didn't miss the question. I'm going to go here first.
Beth.
I don't understand the question. Yep, correct. I believe, yes. A mooring fee is different than this fee.
No, that's Betsy McKean, 35 Lufkin Point Road. So I want to clarify something that an earlier presenter said that I found confusing after reading the article. So I'm an Essex resident. I have a mooring, happily, as this other gentleman does, pay my mooring fee every year. As I read this article, I would continue to pay my mooring fee for $8 a foot.
Correct.
I would not pay anything different from that because it's an exemption from the river user fee. So someone else had mentioned $8 minus $5, $3 a foot. No, I still pay my $8 a foot mooring fee. Correct.
That is correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Everyone here all right? Let me know if you can't hear this, okay?
We just need your name.
My name is Jack Gale, 105 Pond Street. In Massachusetts, the public has a constitutional right to fish, fowl, and navigate in the intertidal zone. That means between high and low tide. These rights are reserved by the colonial ordinances of 1641 to 1647. In every coastal state, the use of tidelands is governed by a concept in property law known as the public trust doctrine, which dates back centuries to Roman law. The doctrine states that all rights in tidelands and the water itself are held by the state in trust for the benefit of the public. Over the years, Massachusetts courts have ruled that the scope of activities on private tidelands covered by the reserved public rights of fishing, fouling, and navigation is broad and includes all of their natural derivatives, including, for example, the right to navigate includes the right to conduct any activity involving the movement of a boat, vessel, float, or other watercraft, as well as the transport of people and materials and relating to loading and unloading activity. While it is legal for a town to charge fees for the use of its coastal waterways for services like moorings, docking, and in some cases using municipal boat ramps, such fees must generally be reasonable and used to cover the expenses of maintaining the waterways and deposited into special accounts. Essex does that. Yes, running a town is expensive. We always need more. But must every single thing in town be taxed? Are road use fees next in Essex? What about parking meters? Perhaps we could consider instead spending less, maybe even do without in some situations. It's really no wonder sometimes that overrides get voted down. Unless the town is looking for a legal challenge, we shouldn't waste any more time on this article and promptly vote it down.
Peter? Peter?
Peter Ferrio, Rocky Hill Road. Well, thank God we're talking about taking care of the Essex River once and for all. We need money to do it. Chief Shamshak and I have met about an Essex Waterways Commission and really determine how to establish the funding. We need a Boat Waste Management Act. We have to determine who's using our town landings. I know there's 17 of them. I've identified 10 of them. There's a lot of things we need to do. And I think the marina owners have to commit to providing the information so we can collect the excise tax. And I do believe there should be a water use tax. However, I think we need to tap the brakes on it, come back in the fall in an organized manner and determine who's going to get the user fee, who isn't, and at what level. I think the application of it and the enforceability of it as we're proposing it right now, it's going to be complicated. I mean, you're going to stop boats at low tide. We've got to determine a lot more. I'm in agreement, Chief. We need to get this done, and we need to find all the ways to generate some revenue so that we can take care of the Essex River once and for all. Thank you for your time.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Nick Royal, 6 Winthrop Street. I agree with the last speaker. I would like to see some guardrails put around this. Fees have a nasty habit of going up and up and up. And I would like to see, if possible, that town meeting gets to decide when a fee goes up, and also that it gets sunset, say after 5 years, unless town meeting comes around and says, look, we can continue this. In principle, I'm in favor of this. And I'm happy to put an amendment, which I've written down just to those 2 points, because I know you ruled my other thing out of order.
Any further discussion? No discussion. All those in favor of Article 16, raise your card. All those opposed? Let's try that again. All those in favor? All those opposed? Can't call it. We're going to need the tellers. Sorry, guys. I know I can't go on one side or the other. I just turned Bernie. And he's usually very good. Over the, oh yeah. When I was in a select, constantly was like, yeah. Okay. He was really pretty good. What? Everyone in favor of Article 16, raise your card, please. And keep them up so they can see them. Yes. What's that? I'm already calling for the vote. I can't, once I call for a vote, I can't put an amendment in. You did not, you said you would like to see that when it came up. Okay, we're good. Okay. All those not in favor of Article 16, please raise your card. Keep your cards up. Minus 104. Perhaps. You guys there, or you can put your cards down. Based on the last one. Unless there were people that didn't vote on the amendment. That's what I'm basing it.
I'm guessing that it's not.
Could be. So the only real one is Apple Street, the next one. You in the middle can put theirs down. Stay up over here. Okay, we're all good. There you go.
Carla.
We need that, Carla. We need your number. So the motion passes 104 to 97. Article 17.
Excuse me. Can I, Kate Cross from 45 Apple Street, can I motion to discuss Article 22 first?
You want to move
Next?
Article 22 in front of 17?
Yes,
Is that a motion?
it's a motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor of moving Article 22 in front of 17, raise your card. Any opposed? We're going to move to 22. Nick, can we keep the conversation down, please?
I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $75,000 to design and construct a road from Apple Street to the town's DPW facility over the town-owned parcel known as 30 Apple Street, including but not limited to site and wetland surveys, equipment rental, materials, and anything incidental thereto.
Is there a second? Discussion?
I suspect there will be. There's a few things that I'd like to say quickly. I was surprised to find a letter in my mailbox about this article, as we had had several discussions at the Board of Public Works meetings, and nobody came to talk to us about it. I was a little surprised by some of the assertions in the letter, specifically that there is no urgency for us to do this. I will note that we have evaluated the bridge on Landing Road. Folks who have driven over the bridge at Landing Road can tell that it's got a big hump on it, and that's because the subbase is eroding from underneath of it and it needs to be fixed. Even today, we heard from the bridge evaluator that work is gonna need to be done in the next 1 to 5 years. So it is somewhat urgent. In the letter, it also noted that we could just drive across the field as it is now. I don't suspect that our fuel delivery trucks or our dumpster removal trucks or our fire trucks or our ambulances or folks who bring trash to the dump in their Subaru are gonna drive across the field as it is. There's a note saying that the DPW has said we could just move the road. I'm not sure exactly what that's referring to because I didn't say that. I don't believe Mandy said that. Our intent is to build this road and leave it in place until such time as the actual use of the property becomes clear. To my knowledge, there is no conversation with the exception of the original evaluation for a new school there about what we're going to do with the property, so I expect that that road will be there for quite some time. As it relates to the hedgerow, which is a, quote, rich wildlife habitat, We have no plans to remove the bushes along the edge of the property. We're going to build the road next to it. What I think probably makes me the most concerned about the contents of this letter is related to the RAP and the accusations in this letter about RAP and why the DPW is proposing to use RAP on this road. We are not trying to get ourselves out of trouble, as the letter states. We did not tell anybody to put RAP down at Centennial Grove. In fact, we don't control Centennial Grove. That's the purview of the select board. With the exception of the water treatment plant inside the fence and the well number 3, which is on Chabaco Lake, and the well protection district, we have no control over what happens at Centennial Grove. In fact, we noticed that the RAP was being placed and insisted that it stop being placed. Not only did it not stop being placed, more RAP was brought there and was continued to be placed and compacted. We insisted that it be removed, not because it is toxic, which is another assertion that the letter made, but because it creates a impervious surface in our wellhead recharge area, so we don't get water down into the groundwater, and it affects our ability to pump water out of the well. So this idea that RAP is toxic, RAP is just pavement ground up. There's some right outside that door if you want to go look at it. It's not the cleanest stuff in the world. You shouldn't probably eat it, but you know, Mass DEP has no rules. It says you can't put RAP in wetland areas or wetland buffer areas. It doesn't specifically say that you can't store RAP in a wellhead protection area. What it says is that you can't install and compact RAP because, again, it makes an impervious area. So I would encourage folks to vote for this road. The last point I'll make is that when the town chose to purchase this property, one of the main reasons we noted for purchasing it was to provide us with an alternative route to get to the transfer station in the DPW yard. Apple Street is a public right-of-way. It is one of only 2 ways to get from south of the river to the north of the river, and it's one of only two ways that we have to get to our DPW, to our fuel station, to our transfer station. So, thank you.
Further discussion? Lisa?
Lisa O'Donnell, Island Road. I want to emphasize some of what Nick said about the culvert in Landing Road. I've noticed it getting worse over a couple of years, and I was out there. I'm a structural engineer by trade. I was out there with the engineer who evaluated it for the town, and it does have issues. It is going to need to be repaired, and when it gets repaired, the whole road's going to have to be closed. In addition, as Nick mentioned, we bought the property for at Apple Street, and one of the main reasons was how it is strategically located to provide that access from Apple Street to the transfer station, which gives us another access to that important piece of property. I have in my hand a motion that would amend the article to preclude the use of the RAP, the recycled asphalt pavement. I'm not going to read it yet. If this article goes down, I'm going to get up and ask to reconsider the article and then limit it to not having the RAP. Not having the RAP will make it cost more. So I'm going to leave the article go. People can decide what they want to do about it. If the article goes down, we need this road, so I will get up and ask to reconsider it and ask to not use RAP.
Ruth?
Ruth Preen, 15 Lufkin Street. So 2 points. Number 1, I just want to read a quote from John Filius. I was on the Board of Public Works, and Mike Galley received permission from the board to accept it. So while Nick Ellis may not have been on the board, the superintendent did receive permission from the Board of Public Works to accept it, just for clarity. The second thing is, to Lisa O'Donnell's point, the recycled asphalt material, I want everyone in the room to understand, I do attend the meetings and I do understand the cost of this RAP. So it is at Centennial Grove, we know it, we want it gone. What the DPW is considering is actually to hire dump trucks, big 10-wheel dump trucks, to load it into the dump truck and haul it over to Miles River in Ipswich. Miles River is willing to take it for free, but you taxpayers will be paying those trucking charges to haul it away. So the recommendation was, why don't we bring it to Apple Street, because we're putting a road there anyway. The road is going in. We can save money by using the RAP as part of this road construction. So you don't have to use the RAP if you don't want to, but if you don't use it, you are purchasing additional material for that road. So this is going to cost you one way or the other, but you already have the material that can just be used at this point.
Can I address a statement made there?
Sure.
When we talk about permission to store wrap at Centennial Grove, there was a paving project that happened on Route 22 in Essex, wherein it was requested that we store wrap at Centennial Grove. That wrap was stored in a pile. Then, when we were done installing the pads for the recycling bins at the transfer station, we brought that wrap over to the transfer station and flattened the land around it. That was the permission that Mike was given.
Any further discussion on Article 22? Oh, hold on, you got to wait for this person right
Janet Carlson, 24 Apple Street. Wrap is known to contain heavy metals like lead and cadmium and a carcinogen referred to as PAH. These can be released by runoff waters and end up in groundwater and rivers. These are very toxic to fish and other aquatic animals, and they can leach into soils. It has been said in various meetings that the DEP doesn't consider wrap hazardous. The science actually says that it is. The DEP can't actually classify wrap as toxic because it would be a legal nightmare and practical impossibility to address it. This does not mean it's an acceptable or safe material. Testing has shown it's toxic, but it would bankrupt towns and cities to officially consider wrap hazardous. Given this, we don't want it on that farmland. It's quite a contradiction to hear that we have to move it from Centennial Grove too close to our town wells, the water supply, but let's put it on this clean soil, this untainted soil very close to the river. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Sure, Dan Mayer, 2 Liberty Road. So I guess I'm the one who's kind of taken a lot of heat for this, but it was always communicated. I'm not looking to move wrap. It was something the parking lot down there to improve it. We brought it in there from town paving projects. Said something about coming from a Hamilton construction site. Whoever wrote that foolish letter, you can contact me directly. I'll bring you to where it came from. There was no construction site, but the wrap's there. It was always communicated with Mike Galley, because I would never do anything without speaking to Mike Galley, or meetings down there with the select board, walking the whole site, what we intended on doing. It was all brought in, laser graded, compacted. It was very nice. Now, and there was a pile there for years. Like, we can go back, Google photos of when the pile was there. But there'd always been a pile there, because not the pile that was brought there and then you moved it no, that was the original pile that we spread. So, no problem. I said it went in there at the speed of volunteers. It will come out at the speed of volunteers, or it'll get paid, to be removed the way you want to do it. But anyway, just in defense, but, obviously done a lot down there in improving the site. Even, you can come down tomorrow night as we continue to put the roof on the bathhouses and anything else that goes on down there that we're happy to help with. But it's unfortunate that this whole thing is, spiraled, but it was always communicated. I'm sorry if you came later in the discussion. I never got word, to stop it. If it was a stop and something still came in, I was unaware. There was one night when they were paving and stuff came in unaccounted for from a paving project, but even still, it was already well on its way. So I apologize, whatever. I'm not calling anybody out, and try to stay quiet about the whole thing, but yeah, I guess it falls on me. Cheers.
Over here.
Teresa Whitman, 8 Lufkin Street. I just have a clarifying question. It just says design and construct a road. Is the intent of this road to be emergency access only while the main access to the transfer station is functional and operational, or is this intended to be a public cut through from the start?
I wouldn't say emergency access only. I would say it would be more accurate to say it's temporary access. So when we have an ongoing bridge project, in order to get trucks, trailers, people in and out of the site, we would use that road.
May I ask a
Another
follow-up?
question, yeah?
So would it be open to the public from the start, though, to be able to use?
That is not the intent, no.
Okay, thank you.
Southern Ave, ooh.
Say that again,
Close.
please.
82 Southern Ave. I'm sorry if this was already addressed and I didn't hear it, but assuming the road is a foregone conclusion and that is happening, I assume there are alternatives that I'm trying to understand why this instead of something else. Is it just cost savings? Because there must be alternatives to this controversial material.
Yeah, well, so I've never seen rap as controversial until literally a week ago, but
Near
you know,
a water source, though?
Again, imperviousness is the issue. Anyway, you could do it with gravel, yes. Gravel is likely to require more maintenance over time, and frankly, it'll have to be replaced more frequently, so it'll cost more upfront, and then it'll cost more in the long term for you to
Okay,
deal
thank
with.
you.
Yep.
Jack Gale, 105 Pond Street. At that town meeting when the voters decided to buy 30 Apple Street, yes, some people spoke in need for an emergency or secondary or temporary access road to the DPW, citing the eventual need to replace or remove the culvert. Others clearly didn't want the field to turn into a proposed 9-house development. Still others wanted it to remain as open agricultural land. I fell into that last group of voters, but felt that if it were necessary to build a road across the field, that would be better than building a road and 9 houses on it. I suspect that many others agreed. Well, we as a town have not yet decided what to do with the field, and I'm concerned that any decisions as to what to do on the field should be made in the correct order. Now, here's my opinion as to why this article is in front of us now. Somehow, there are contradictory reports here this evening, but a large amount of the RAP material was moved to Centennial Grove for use there, with or without oversight. There were concerns about this, and it was determined by the water department that this material should not be in the vicinity of the town wells, or as our town administrator worded it, out of an abundance of caution. It was decided not to use it at the Grove. So at this point, there was a large amount of RAP to be dealt with somehow. Then an alternate plan was developed to quickly move and stockpile the material to the field at 30 Apple Street for future road in building the road the DPW has been advocating for. Citizens became concerned about the RAP near our town wells and aware of the plan to use the road across the field. So here we are. There are so many things wrong with this picture. First of all, Essex deserves a more thoughtful approach to her issues than this. If and when a road is to be built on town land, we, the voters, deserve a sensible plan to build the road, showing where it's to be built, specifying what materials are to be used, with limits as to its width, and with limits on how it is to be used, when we know where it should be built based on the eventual use of the field. Not a carte blanche for the DPW to do whatever it wants. In my opinion, the article in this form should be voted down. As for the assessment of the so-called bridge, which is clearly not a bridge, but a culvert, but you can call it whatever you want, yes, the road will need some work at some point in the future, and yes, a limited secondary access road to the DPW will be important at that time. I examined the culvert and the concrete foundation supporting it, and it appears to be in amazingly good condition. I was not here in the first part of the meeting, but I gather that that's what the engineer's assessment said, not that it's in amazingly good condition, but that it's not are going to fall down immediately. I personally wouldn't lose any sleep over that. Landing road at the culvert does show some depression, and in my opinion, this is not the result of any weakness in the culvert. I disagree with the previous assertion that a hurricane could take out Landing Road or the culvert, or disagree that Landing Road floods, as had been claimed by the town administrator. The nearest neighbor was consulted and backs this up. There's never been a significant storm surge there. It's well back in a protected corner of the marsh. This shouldn't be a battle. The voters who decided to buy 30 Apple Street should be able to come together for their common goals. Why not plan a modest-sized, environmentally friendly, truly secondary road
30 seconds.
that's limited in use to only when Landing Road is impassable, and also preserving the habitat as much as possible. If we avoid rushing into this until we have a better idea of how we'll be using the rest of the land, so much the better, and we won't risk having to rebuild or duplicate the road in the future. Thank you.
Brennan? Yes.
Order?
Yeah.
I never said that Landing Road floods at any time. He may be confused with the Apple Street project at the other end of the street, where in fact that part of the road does flood and did flood. Last time it happened was in 2018. But I have never claimed that Landing Road floods. Thank you.
I think, Jody, you were next.
Jody Harris. I just want to clarify that not only if we do not use the RAP for the Apple Street project, which, as you see in your handout, we tell you exactly where the road will be going over 30 Apple Street, but we will need to bear the cost of removing the RAP, even though they're taking it for free. But what wasn't mentioned is the cost that will incur to actually bring materials in to build the road. So we're going to be literally paying coming and going for a road that today, an email from the engineering firm who is evaluating this, whatever you want to call it, bridge, culvert, says that we will need to plan on repairs within the short term of 2 to 4 years. So it's a necessity. Our DPW facility is there, all of our equipment is there, our fuel station is there, our transfer station is there. You all are going to need to go to the transfer station, our fire trucks, our police vehicles, and all of our DPW trucks that are housed there, they're all going there for fuel. So it is critical that we get this road implemented, and it's really a matter of how much you want to pay for the road. Do you want to pay with materials that have been approved for that type of use as an impervious surface, or do you want to pay coming and going for a road that we're going to have to build from scratch?
Dave Landry, 73 Story Street. There's been a lot of discussion on RAP, and I think there was an amendment to decide whether we should go forward with that. Why don't we get that one out of the way, because that's a critical issue right here.
Would you like to make an amendment?
I think there's one on the table there. Someone said they were going to bring an amendment before.
There's not one yet. There could be, but there isn't one yet.
I thought one of the selectmen said there was, but go ahead. I'll make a motion to decide whether RAP can be used as a composite for this road.
I'll need that in writing. We have paper up here, I believe. We can.
A yes or no on that one.
What do you want to use yours? Excuse me?
Because this sounds like a question, not a statement. So,
No, I think you want to eliminate RAP being used in the project.
so it would be specifically using gravel, correct? Because we should be specific. We're not going to pave the road.
He said RAP.
What's that?
Is there a second to the amendment that says we'd like to remove RAP from the project? Well, no, eliminate the use of. Is there a second? When I have it, Read it.
Be good to know the price difference, wouldn't it?
So the amendment's going to read a motion to eliminate the use of RAP of the new access road for the transfer station. Yes? Is there a second to that? Any further discussion on the amendment? On the amendment, not the article.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on the amendment. My question is, do we have a figure of the price difference between a gravel road and a RAP road? Because I think if we're voting not to use RAP, we should also know what the price tag or the delta would be between the two.
We do. The cost delta, including paying for gravel delivered and also removing the RAP, is in the order of $25,000 to $30,000 additional dollars for the road.
Rob, discussion on the amendment, not the article. The amendment to remove RAP from use. Over here.
Paul Trimby, 56 Apple Street. Putting on an article to, or putting on an amendment to remove RAP is the option gravel, RAP, or fresh pavement?
That's a good question.
So fresh pavement would have more runoff, more toxicity than any RAP would. So if there was to be an amendment, it should probably end up being that it'd be a gravel road instead of a paved road or RAP road, if that was the concern.
Got to work on this amendment first.
Yep. Just adding that for everyone's consideration.
Discussion on the amendment? Go ahead.
Jack Gale, 105 Pond Street. I find it hard to believe that we would really resist paying an amount like $30,000 to avoid a potential health risk. This has been pretty well established, and if anybody reads the Essex issues page, there was an extensive link posted on that about scientific studies and the results having to do with the toxins in RAP. It seems like a small price to pay to do this properly. I hope you'll approve this amendment.
Further discussion on the amendment?
Yes. Maybe we should consider no RAP on anywhere in Essex, nobody's driveway, and then survey people's driveways who have RAP, even if they paved over it. No RAP in Essex, it sounds like, because if you want to put RAP on a temporary road, that maybe you'd put filter fabric down, because when you do a temporary road, and we make temporary roads all the time, you scrape out the organic matter down to gravel, you put some fabric down, you put gravel, or you can put RAP or some kind of material, and if it's a temporary road, you pick it up. If you spend all the money on a nice road, I think we're gonna just sell this property to a developer with the road already intact, with an easement going over it that will always have access, but maybe a fire gate at one end, but still we'll be able to use that road when we need to in the future, because bridges don't last forever. But maybe just add to it that no RAP in Essex. You do that and I'll take all that RAP out of there on my back. I'll make it all go away. But I would like to see no RAP in Essex after this, because this is kind of insane.
Further discussion on the amendment. I've got two more comments and we'll move it. You can't, and just so you know, I'm not going to have someone from the audience yell, move the question. You have to be up at a mic to make that motion. Go ahead.
Jared Strong, 17 School Street. We can debate the use of RAP for a variety of reasons. I would just think it's important to the discussion that recycled asphalt is the most recycled product in the country. Over 90% of asphalt is recycled and reused throughout the nation. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
discussion.
Stacy Capitasto, 15 Apple Street. I just have a question. If this is a temporary road and we have to decide between a wrap or gravel road or pavement, is one easier, cheaper to remove?
It's not a temporary road. It is a road for temporary access while we're working on the bridge, or if there's another reason that we cannot get down Landing Road to the transfer station.
Will it be gated when it's not?
Yes.
Okay. Good question. Thank you.
Over here.
Hello. Dan Doucette, John Wise Avenue. I move the question.
The amendment.
On the amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of terminating debate on the amendment to Article 22, which would remove the wrap from the use of this Apple Street Road, raise your card. Terminating debate on that app, yes. Any opposed? We have terminated debate. Now we're going to still stay on the amendment, and we need to vote on the amendment. All those in favor of amending the amendment to Article 22, which is removing the wrap from the street on 30 Apple Street. That's what we're doing. This is on the amendment, not the article. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your card. All those opposed? The motion fails. Back to Article 22, main article. I believe you were up first.
Mike Dyer, Indian Rock Lane. First of all, I want to agree wholeheartedly with Jack Gale's point about the lack of land use planning for this piece of land that the town got a couple of years ago. It seems pretty foolish to go ahead in piecemeal fashion before we really know what the ultimate use of the land will be. Secondly, as far as the use of wrap goes, I'm no expert. There do seem to be contrary indications in the literature about whether it's toxic or not, whether there's leachate that can come out of it. It sounds like there could be. I guess that not all wrap is created or exists equally. I'm wondering if it's possible to assay the stuff and see what the quality of this stuff is that we have. If there's any way to measure the risk, that would be a question for DPW, I guess. And the final point about the need for the road, the only need that I can see that's really been articulated is that we will need the road at the point when the bridge is to be repaired or the culvert is to be repaired. My guess is that that wouldn't be taking place for 3, 4, 5 years from now. I don't see why we need to put this road in at this point. I'm against this.
Point of order.
Point of order.
Just responding, as was read by the chair of the Finance Committee, the engineers that are currently looking at all 3 town-owned bridges are indicating that it's somewhere on a continuum between 1 year and 4 years from now. I also wanted to point out that if and when a repair is designed and then cost estimated, you might find that the cost of repairing the bridge/culvert is so much more than just having the simple road, you may not ever even want to repair it. I don't know because we don't have the information yet. Just please keep in your mind that we have no idea what the repair, even if it is termed repair, will cost. Things are very expensive.
Hi, I'm Jen Hugh-Lucky. My husband and I live on Lowland Farm Road. We are a direct abutter of the road being proposed. I guess I'm just wondering if there's any conversation about potential screenage for the people that are impacted, since obviously this road would directly affect in a positive way everyone else in the town. Just wondering if there's any conversation about how that might be rectified for the people who are negatively implicated by it.
Answer her question. We have not considered that. We recently started speaking about this road. We can certainly look at what the view is from where the road winds up to your home. You could look at putting screenings in, just keeping in mind that large mature trees cost money. So it's going to increase the price of the project.
Yeah, and we, I guess, this is my first town hall meeting, so apologize if this is not the right forum to ask, but we have taken it upon ourselves to incur some of that expense. But I guess if it's a benefit to the entire town that hurts most specifically a couple people, I guess I'm wondering if that would be something that people would be open to discussing. And if that's not, this is not the forum for that, please let me know.
Yeah, I guess I would say it's probably not. I would say, we have a DPW meeting every 2 weeks. The public is welcome to come. Our agenda goes out before we have the DPW meeting. So if there's something on there, like a road through 30 Apple Street that you'd like to discuss with us, you can come talk to us about it. And we can talk about things like trees and using gravel and,
Well, and if it's a town decision because of the cost implication, then would that be the place for it though, or would this be the place to talk about it?
It would, at the DPW meeting would be the place.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead over here.
Mr. Moderator, I move to amend the main motion further. I have 2 amendments, and I propose to offer them sequentially.
I'm going to do one at a time.
Okay, the first amendment would add specifics as to use, and the language would be added around the word road in the second line. We would add the words secondary access before the word road, and the words gated at both ends after the word road. And further, after the words 30 Apple Street, we would add the words for use only when landing road is closed. Sorry, I have to.
That's in writing? So that, the amendment is adding for use only when landing road is closed, including but not limited to site and wetland surveys. Is that correct?
No, it's the uppercase language that says secondary access before the word road and gated at
So it's
both
adding
ends.
secondary access in front of road, so secondary access road. Gated at both ends is added, and then landing road is only used when the landing road is closed. That's the amendment.
Mr. Moderator?
Is there a point of order?
Sorry, point of order. The concern is, what if this ends up being the access road because landing road is no longer accessible? We don't know. I don't want to make the assumption that that's what's going to happen. However, I'm a little bit concerned about changing language that could limit us.
That's what we put to the vote.
Okay.
So is there a second to that? Further discussion on amending, adding secondary access and a gate at both ends of from Apple Street to the DPW, and only used when landing road is closed. Further discussion on your motion? No? Further discussion, Dan?
In regards to the amendment to the article, I believe, and I'm going to ask this to the DPW Commission, we're asking for funds tonight to study this and do engineering on what that site would be used for, correct?
No, well, it's a combination of things, yes, to do the plan, but then also to physically construct the road. So another point to be made here. The reason why this is so inexpensive is because the DPW is going to do it ourselves. So if we have to do this as part of a bridge construction contract, the price of this road is going to double, probably, at least, if not more. We're proposing to do it now because we know we need to do bridge work in the near future. We have the people who are capable of building the road at the DPW. We have the time to do it on our own time frame. And so the cost that we're asking for money for is to do partial survey of the property and design and construct the road.
I'm sorry, I didn't say my name last time. Dan Doucette, John Wise Ave. And another question, there would probably be a public comment or some time of a hearing probably regarding this process, right?
Yeah, probably once the actual final design of the road is completed, we would open it up to public.
Where everybody would have the opportunity to go to a DPW meeting. They're very exciting.
They are very
and have some
exciting.
comment.
You are right about that.
Just to pinhole us into something like was just proposed and limit what we can do with that property is totally irresponsible. The original motion at hand, the RAP's not going to have baby squirrels coming out with two heads out of the wombs out in the fields. We need to make good use of it. They didn't use it at the water plant because it was impervious. The water wouldn't go through to go to the wellheads. It wasn't a contamination issue. We need to get back on track here, save some money, do it right, plan for the future. That bridge is not going to last forever. It failed within the last 10 years. Had to have repairs done. Might have been 15 years. It all goes so fast. But we're going in circles here. Don't vote for this amendment to the motion, please.
There's discussion on the amendment to the article. Yes? No?
I do.
Okay.
Chris Capitasto, 15 Apple. So what I'm hearing is that this could potentially become the new entrance to the dump. Why doesn't somebody just say that? Thank you.
That is, hold on.
That's my question.
That is not the intent. What Brendan is saying is that.
Intent is one thing, but you guys, once you do this, there's no stopping it, right? So you guys go put a cheap temporary road. Oh, well, this is too expensive now. This is the new entrance. That's how it reads to me.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay, all those in favor of amending Article 22, raise your card. All those opposed? The motion fails. Back to the main motion. And I have a question before I say.
Okay.
I need to ask.
Sorry, patience is a virtue, you know.
We have another motion coming?
Yes. The second amendment would address the vagueness in terms of the size of the road, and that would involve adding words after the word road in the second line to include with a maximum width of 20 feet.
Is there a second? There's a second. Discussion? Discussion on the amendment to restrict the width to 20 feet.
Is my okay. I would object to the 20-foot width. Yeah, there are a lot of roads in Essex that are 20 feet wide and they're hairy to drive on. There's roads that are less than that. If we're going to put in a road that's got to handle DPW equipment, the dumpsters coming in and out, plus if it is a temporary road while the culvert and landing road is being repaired and all of us are driving down it, why make it 20 feet instead of 24, which is a standard safe width for 2 lanes that are 12 feet wide for passage?
Nick, you had.
She said what I was going to say.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
I have some.
Okay.
Thank you. In this case, a maximum width of 20 feet is typical of rural roads in Essex and elsewhere. Landing road itself is 19 feet wide at the culvert, and all the vehicles travel to and from the dump at a 19-foot width. That should be more than ample. 25 feet is like industrial strength. It's too big a scar on the landscape, and especially given that it's going to be used so rarely only when Landing Road is closed. It would make a huge difference to the appearance of this scenic open space that many of us see a reason to protect. Instead of creating an oversized road in this farmland on a scenic road, let's strive to design it so that it fits into the landscape and makes as small a bruise as possible. Thank you.
Further discussion? Go ahead.
I'm going to sit down after this. Jack Gale, 105 Pond Street. Just to give you an idea of what is being talked about, Apple Street is 20 feet at the 22 end, Route 22 end. Pond Street, the width is 20 feet. You're talking about a road like Pond Street across this field that's supposed to be for temporary use only. I really don't think the trucks and fire engines have any trouble getting past each other on Pond Street. Consider that. Let's keep it in scale. It's supposed to be temporary.
Further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. Oh, Dan?
Yeah, so I could just add to that because some support here. It's because you're going to pull 18-wheelers because that's what hauls our trash. I apologize for our trucks that come through town occasionally, but we certainly know what it will take to get a truck in and out of there. You can only going to turn right. Sorry, Chris. Trucks are only going to go right out of there to get out to a state road. So the road's going to have to be bigger. It's going to be flared out at the end certainly as well, but might as well be, that's what it's going to take. No doubt about it. Otherwise, trucks are just going to drive right across the street, go up on that just to make the turn. So realistic. Let these guys build a road that they actually need. Sorry.
Further discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of amending Article 22 by limiting the width to 20 feet, raise your card. Opposed? The amendment fails. Now back to the main motion, 22. Any discussion on 22?
I wanted to address the idea of the future disposition of the property at 30 Apple Street. I mentioned earlier one of the motivating reasons for purchasing this is because that we could get access from Apple Street to the transfer station easily. What will happen on that 11.5-acre parcel in the long run is something that this town will still be debating when I'm dead. Honestly, think about Canomo Point. When we figured out what to do at Canomo Point, that was a 20-year discussion, and our options were tear it down, rent it, or sell it. We had 3 options, and it took us 20 years to figure out what to do with it. We're talking about 11 acres here that we could sell to a developer, we could plant flowers on, we could put senior housing there, we could put nothing there, we could put ball fields there. The options for this property are so vast and so varied and are going to take a 2/3 vote when we get there. So this property is going to sit empty with hopefully a road down the middle for as long as I live.
Rob's been standing up for a long time.
Good job, Lisa. Rob Fitzgibbon, 18 Main Street. So politics makes very strange bedfellows, and when we voted to purchase this property back like a couple of years ago, I was thinking like, because it was this really kind of interesting kind of Venn diagram of people bonding together to purchase it. You had the kind of operations contingent, if you will, the sort of Bob the Builder folks, and then you had the environmental contingent, the sort of tree huggers. And I think the thing is that both groups got together and allowed the town to purchase the property, but both groups have very different motivations for what to do with the property. And the problem with this article is that it just talks about a road, but it doesn't talk about the sort of like entire use of the land, which many people want to, including myself, want to preserve. I'd recommend that someone make a motion to indefinitely postpone this, and let's come back in November and have an entire plan. Well, it'll be enough time. I don't think the culvert's going to break in 6 months. Then we can have a full plan and address everybody's needs. Thank you.
Is that your motion, Rob?
Hold on. Okay.
I make a motion to indefinitely postpone Article
22.
22. Thank you.
For a second. All those in favor of
Could I
indefinitely
have some
postponing?
discussion really quick? Sorry, just make a point.
I guess, sure.
We are not going to be able to design a road without money. So,
All those in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 22, raise your card. All those opposed? Aye. All those in favor? I know, but I have to have a plan. We're going to need to tell our vote. In the meantime, perfect time for this. Hold on. Before you raise your cards, I want to recognize Senator Bruce Tarr is here. He's going to come up and say a couple of words. So we're going to save a little time by having him speak while we take the vote, and he's going to rap for us.
Rap, maybe not, but thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Everyone raise your cards if you're in favor of Article 22. Postponing Article 22.
You gotta come to the mic.
All those in favor of indefinitely postponing Article 22, raise your card. That changed. That just changed. Go ahead. Keep your cards up. He's going to speak for us.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and through you to the members. I fear what I have just stepped into by approaching this microphone. I have to tell you, this is my third town meeting of this evening, and I have not at any of the other town meetings heard such an interesting combination of engineering, wit, and philosophy. And it's been a very interesting discussion. I want to congratulate everyone who's participated in it. I just want to give you a very quick update. We on Beacon Hill are in our season of budgeting, just as you are here tonight in the town of Essex, and I want you to know that the House just a short while ago completed its version of the budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2027. And one of the most notable things that they did was increase the amount of minimum per pupil aid. The governor had proposed that number to be at $75. The House increased it, very fortunately, to $160 per pupil, meaning for the Manchester-Essex Regional School District, that would be about $170,000 additional dollars. And in the Senate, our budget will be unveiled tomorrow, and we'll be debating it over the next couple of weeks, and we hope to hold that number. In addition to that, one of the things in the state budget that has needed to be addressed in a very long time is unrestricted general government aid, so-called UGA, the funding that the state provides for municipal purposes, such as funding police and fire departments. Do you want to declare the vote?
Nope,
okay.
All those opposed to postponing Article 22? Thank you. You can make it.
I have never been involved in the middle of a vote before, but unrestricted general government aid is what pays for the non-school things that the state provides funding for, and we are working very hard in the Senate to increase that number, because over the years the state budget has gotten bigger, tremendously bigger, but the percentage of unrestricted general government aid has gone down. So we're hoping that we're going to increase that so that we'll have more money for the schools and more money for the municipal side of government. And we hope to accomplish that over the next couple of weeks as the Senate debates the state budget. I also want to point out that it is my hope that when we debate the budget in the Senate, we will at long last recreate and reconstitute the Foundation Budget Review Commission. Because for anyone that's been following funding from Massachusetts to our school districts, you know that that foundation budget is broken and it is not providing a fair amount of state assistance to regional districts and regular school districts all across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. In fact, over 270 school districts in our state receive only the minimum amount of per pupil aid increase every year. It's time to change that, and it starts with the Foundation Budget Review Commission. So we hope to do that. Last but not least, I'm trying to see if the vote is done yet, how much more time I need to speak for. But last but not least, I think we all know how phenomenal our town manager, Brendan Zubricki, is. Once again, he worked with us. He is phenomenal. And just a couple of weeks ago, Brendan worked with us as we did a supplemental budget that was spending some of the proceeds of the income surtax on incomes over $1 million. Those funds can only be used for transportation and education. And Brendan worked with us, and we secured an earmark in the Senate version of that budget for some $60,000 to help Essex study its bridges, so that we can understand what we need to do to make them more resilient and more sustainable. And I'm guessing, Brendan, with that amount of money, you can also study how wide they are, but I'm not sure. And then very last but not least, I just wanted to say a special thanks to Chief Shamshuk, because he and everyone at the Public Safety Building has been hosting some very important discussions that we've been leading about what to do to reduce incidences of wrong-way driving in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's a very serious issue. It is something that happens far too often, and it is something that we are learning day by day that we can do something about. And the chief has been hosting us right here in Essex as folks from all across the region have been getting together to plan a strategy to reduce incidents of wrong-way driving. And it is going to make a difference. It's going to save lives. And I appreciate his good work and his hosting us and all of the chiefs on the North Shore. Mr. Moderator, I think there's a question. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to entertain a question, but go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. Yep.
I'm Shelley Bradbury. Thank you, Senator Tarr. I am very interested in the energy costs that we're paying, where I heard that the legislative is going to talk about raising the service fees in December. And right now, our service fees are more than what we use. And it is getting to a point where it's unaffordable. And I want to know more about this and what you're thinking.
Sure. Well, thanks, Shelley. So what's happening is that the House of Representatives has passed a bill to work on reducing energy costs. Massachusetts right now pays among the highest electricity cost in the continental United States of America. And so the House passed a bill to look at various ways to reduce that. The Senate plans on taking that bill up over the next several months. I have offered a comprehensive bill with many of my colleagues to try to reduce those costs while making sure that we have reliable sources of sustainable energy. And so it's a conversation that is ongoing, but we are going to work at both of those goals. Number one, making sure that we have enough supply. Number two, making sure that it's affordable and sustainable over the future. So it's a great question, and it's one of the things that we absolutely must address in Massachusetts. And I'm just going to editorialize for a minute and say that over the last several years, we literally have had thousands of people leaving our Commonwealth because it's not affordable to be here. And one of the driving causes of that is the cost of energy. So we take it very seriously. We have a lot of ideas on how to get at it. And I promise you, maybe even if you tune into the Senate budget debate 2 weeks from now, you may even hear some ideas from me about how to get at that sooner than later. Thanks for the question. All right, I think I've used enough time so that the vote has been completed. And I think, where's Lisa O'Donnell? I think, it certainly got done in a shorter time than what you had predicted. And I want to make sure you're living for a long, long time. So thank you all for coming out to town meeting. I know these nights can be long, but they make a real difference when people get together and make decisions for the town. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bruce. The motion to postpone failed, 85 to 103. So we're going to move on to the main Article 22 still. Go ahead.
Mike Dyer, Indian Rock Lane. Question through you, Mr. Moderator, to the DPW. I understand that the design and construction of this road are pencil out to $75,000. I'm surprised you can even get a road designed for $75,000 these days and built based on prices I've seen on other projects recently. I'd like a little more detail on that, including who will be designing the road.
The road design will be per standard detail and width, and will be built by DPW personnel with rented equipment.
Next question or statement? Or
David Perrine, 15 Lufkin Street. I'd like to urge everybody here to vote on this article the way it is written. A lot of us probably remember, which is coming up shortly, all the lovely Mother's Day rainstorms that we had, and how inconvenient for the town of Ipswich it was when the Chope Bridge did not operate for months. We are one simple little rainstorm away from that culvert being useless, which is going to cut off 100% of your access to vital emergency services. So please vote on the article as it is written.
Christopher Wolf, 4 Saugonese Creek Road. I'd like to move the question, please.
Okay. All those in favor of moving Article 22, raise your card. All those that want to keep continuing talking about it, raise your card. We're going to stop debate. We will now take a vote on Article 22. All those in favor of Article 22, raise your card. All those opposed? The motion passes. Article 17. It's
Mr. Moderator? Mr. Moderator? I'd like to propose that we consider Article 28 next, please.
Is there a second? All those in favor of moving Article 28 before 17, raise your card. All those opposed to moving it? Article 28.
Mr. Moderator, I, Edward Neal, move that the town vote to repeal or rescind the vote of Article 21 of the annual town meeting of May 2nd, 2011, by which the town adopted the open space residential development zoning bylaw as Section 6-14 of the town zoning bylaw, subsequently renumbered as and currently existing as Section 6-8 of the town zoning bylaw, and to delete said Section 6-8 from the town zoning bylaw. Said repeal or rescission shall not apply to any application properly filed before the passage of this article at the May 2026 annual town meeting.
Is there a second? Discussion?
Do you want me to give the planning boards? Jeff?
What?
I guess I wasn't paying attention.
Yes, I have to ask, because this is 2/3 it's zoning, I want the planning board to answer whether they voted on it or not.
Beg your pardon?
I'm asking the planning board if they voted on it, because this is a zoning article, and it takes 2/3. I asked the planning board if they voted on it or are in favor of it.
They voted not to support it at their hearing.
I have to ask her. Lisa?
The planning board did hear this article as part of our hearing on April 15th, and at that point, no one spoke to the article, and the planning board, as is required, takes a vote on whether to support the article and to recommend it to town meeting, and our vote was against the article, and we do not recommend it to town meeting.
Is my time clock starting now?
Right now.
Okay. I guess I wasn't paying attention when the town passed the OSRD bylaw in 2011, but even if I was, I probably would not have understood the ramifications of it passing. The Essex Park Road development, however, has brought significant issues to light. The objective of this bylaw is clearly to preserve green spaces as part of residential development projects, and in overdeveloped urban settings, it might make some sense. But in Essex, we have expansive, undeveloped green spaces and conservation areas for passive recreation. The Stavros Reservation, New England Antiquities, Greenbelt, and Trustees all offer public access to undeveloped farm and forest areas, and the existing large residential lots provide pleasant treed and grassy areas for your viewing pleasure. In Essex, our zoning for residential development has required 30,000 square foot lots on streets in existence in 1972 and 40,000 on new subdivision roads. These requirements were enacted for several reasons. One is that large lots and fences make for good neighbors, and that without municipal sewers, it's difficult to site a functional septic system on smaller lots. The bylaws, sewer regulations, and special legislation that controls our municipal sewer do not allow new developments to tie in. The system was built to correct existing pollution problems, not to facilitate future development. The OSRD bylaw allows and indeed encourages developers to create undersized 10,000 square foot lots, thereby creating more lots than would otherwise be allowed in return for allowing a portion of the lot to remain undeveloped. This creates several issues. First, we are creating clustered housing on small lots that are out of character with the overall residents of Essex. Second, due to the small lots, on-lot septic systems will be impossible, driving the developer to build communal septic systems with pipes in the street from the new houses to remote leaching fields. As it is, the owners of the new homes will be responsible for the maintenance of and plowing of the new subdivision roads, the water supply, which will be on private property, and maintenance of the stormwater recharge structures that are required. Adding sewer system responsibility is adding insult to injury. We are creating a two-tiered community where a significant group of taxpayers are excluded from the bulk of municipal services that are available to the greater population. Lastly, but not least, are the ramifications of this precious open space we will be creating. Who's responsible for maintaining this space? Who can use it? If there are dangerous trees that need pruning or removal, who pays for that? What if a neighborhood kid is playing in there and is hurt? Who pays the bill? Are the new homeowners shouldering this burden as well? It's been suggested that ownership of the open space might be transferred to one of our local conservation groups, which will remove it from the tax rolls. If so, will these organizations maintain and be responsible for this property? Other than maintaining walking trails, I am unaware of any efforts to create fire roads, fire breaks, or decrease the fire load in the vast woodland areas they now control. I don't see it happening. We're only asking these questions because we have created these problems by enacting this bylaw, which makes no sense for this rural community. Please join me in voting to remove this boutique bylaw from our books and return to common sense subdivision rules that work for Essex and new residents. Thank you.
Gil Frieden, 104 John Wise Ave. Vote no. I support keeping the open space residential development zoning bylaw because it lets Essex protect open spaces while still allowing housing. Clustered development is a smarter use of land than scattered large lot sprawl, and it helps preserve the trees that you fought for in the past. So we can't really advocate for clear cutting to make way for big single-family houses over dense housing and more trees when that's how we've been voting in the past. I agree that nature is what makes Essex special. Good planning lets us grow without giving up land, air, and space that makes Essex worth living in. Denser housing can add more to the town's tax base per acre than low-density single-family development because compact land use tends to generate more property tax revenue relative to the land it uses. Keeping open spaces helps Essex preserve the rural character, I would contend, that can strengthen our eligibility for state rural town benefits, including housing and planning incentives. Vote no on 28.
I just wanted to put a little context around the OSRD and make sure that people are clear on what we're talking about here. the open space residential development is one option that developers have. They don't have to use this. They can go do a conventional subdivision just as they could without this. So it's not, getting rid of this isn't going to stop development. It's just going to ensure that any development that does happen is going to be of the 40,000 square foot lot and not allow the smaller cluster development and the protection of open space. So this isn't a way to stop development at all. It just takes away the option for the open space residential development. This article passed in 2011 with 83% of the vote. The vote was 204 in favor to 42 people against it. So it's something that was very popular here in Essex. We've seen the first one in 15 years now that we're hearing at the planning board level right now. So it's not something that is happening all over. It's like I said, the first time in 15 years. We don't see a lot of developments happen, actually. An OSRD does not create a higher density in town because the whole concept of preserving open space means that in effect you get the same density. It's a little bit higher because they have the bonus. They can get a couple more lots if they protect more of the property, but it's not substantial. The conventional subdivision plan that was used to prove out the OSRD that we're looking at pretty much cleared or used up the entire 88-acre parcel. The OSRD that we're looking at now has, of the 84 acres, there are about 50 left in open space. 70% of the property is protected in open space. So it does provide that benefit that was the goal of it. In a statistic I found, and it's a little outdated, but is between 1971 and 1991, the population of Massachusetts grew by 15%, and the area of developed land grew by 35%. And that's around the time when towns were adopting this sort of 1 acre single-family lot. And that's just not a sustainable process. So the concept of having the open space residential development as an option for developers makes a lot of sense. Virtually every town has some version of this. So does our open space bylaw need a few tweaks? Yes, and the planning board is watching for those, and we're going to propose some tweaks if it survives tonight. We'll be making updates to it in the future, having learned a lot going through this process now. And I would like to say that to say that an open space residential development, this cluster development, is not in keeping with the character of Essex. If you look at much of our downtown area between Western and Martin, Pickering, Winthrop, that whole area, and even around Southern Avenue and Eastern Avenue in that area, there's a lot of properties that are the size of the development properties that are in an OSRD. They're the 10,000 square foot lots, just a quarter-acre lot. So that actually is kind of in keeping with some of the neighborhoods that we have in Essex. We do have a lot of sort of smaller lot, close neighborhoods, and a lot of people I know live in them and like them. So I don't see the reason to eliminate this option for developers. It helps bring variety to our community. If everyone lives on one house on an acre, it's pretty sterile and generic.
Go ahead.
Tom DeMeo, 35 Water Street. I'm in favor of looking at zoning situations where we increase density, possibly improve possibility of more growth in the town. But I don't like this law. It's, from my point of view, when you've got land use requirements in town, it provides something to the landowners. It provides a reliable expectation of value. You know what's going to happen in the surrounding properties around your property. It's important to landowners to know that. If you do this, this is a cheat. If you just happen to be next to the portion of a development where the houses are clustered, instead of the expectations you bought the house under, suddenly there's 20 properties in a completely different density level next to you. The whole purpose of land use requirements is to provide reliability to landowners and to provide an expectation of value. If we want to have denser land development, do it in zoned areas, make it reliable, let people know what's going to happen, and they can plan accordingly. Having this, it's not reliable.
Rob Fitzgibbon, 18 Main Street. I don't know. I just feel like we're having this like hybrid vehicles are bad. Let's go back to leaded gasoline. The OSRD is a tool in a developer's toolbox. And it's not for every situation, but it is a very, very useful tool. OSRDs are great to build in certain circumstances. They are a win-win situation for a town and for the developer. I don't see any economic, environmental, fiscal, or operational benefit to eliminate this tool we've had in our toolbox since 2011. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the sky hasn't fallen and the seas haven't, drowned Essex during the time since that got passed. Just think of it, it's just a Phillips head screwdriver. I don't understand why we'd throw away our own Phillips head when every other town around here, Newburyport, Hamilton, Ipswich, they have OSRD. Everything's cool. So vote no on this.
Peter?
Hill Road. Where do we start on this? The OSRD on Essex Park Road is a good example of why we probably want to rescind this. And the sole purpose of this is to exchange conservation land for density development in exchange for 10,000 square foot lots. What's the problem down there? First of all, 50% of the construction is in wetlands or wetland buffer zone, and I'm using this, the OSRD on Essex Park Road as an example of what can go wrong here. There's a 15 to 20,000 gallon per day sewage system that'll sit right on the Elwye Brook. You heard me say we don't take care of the Essex River. Well, that leads directly to the Essex River. It also overlaps a hazardous waste zone, which there's no final remediation in place for. The Elwye Brook borders or bisects 1/3 of this property. The potential conservation land is wetland and the gas pipeline. What kind of a trade-off is that? We don't even have it yet. As a matter of fact, I feel kind of bad for the planning board with the advice they've been getting from our town planner and town council. We have a town bylaw that states no building permits allowed on something like this until we get the conservation restrictions in place. We had a meeting where our town planner stated, when she was asked, the planning board was asked, when will we get the conservation restrictions? Well, maybe after 15 houses are built, or building permits are issued, because it's expensive. But that's typical. Town council stated, I don't know, 2. What's the concern? The concern is we're trading off open land for density here, and we're not getting it. Is potentially a large deficit to the school system. It's not a perfect mathematical formula, but let's say out of 36 houses, there's 1.5 kids in each house, and 1.94 is the average in this state. That'd be 56 students into the school system. At roughly $29,500-600 per student. It's $1.5 million, $1.6 million. Someone from the assessors can tell me what a 10,000 square foot house, lot on house, is that $10,000? Are we running $1 million+ deficit annually? It's one of the things that can go wrong. The developer, it's some young guys trying to hit a home run in Essex. Well, my response to that, don't try that in a small town. It's not typical. Essex isn't typical. I sent a letter around, Apollo 13. They said, okay, Houston, I think we have a problem here. Okay, Essex, we definitely have a problem here. We need to rescind this. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure.
No one said anything about discrimination.
Ruth?
No one said anything about
So now, sorry. Ruth, go ahead. Ruth, you're up.
Ruth Perrine, 15 Lufkin Street. On February 9th, 2026, I went before the Board of Selectmen with a scheduled appointment asking to repeal 2 different bylaws. The second request was to repeal Section 6-8, Open Space Residential OSRD of the Essex bylaws. In that, I wrote, I'm requesting a warrant article to repeal Section 6-8 of the Essex zoning bylaws concerning the open space residential development. According to the Town of Essex 2021 Open Space Plan, 81.9% of the town's land remains open space, with 35% permanently protected and an additional 17.9% subject to development restrictions when water bodies and salt marsh already protected under state law are included. Over 64% of Essex's protected open space falls into these categories. While conservation remains an important goal, the continued removal of land from the tax rolls increases the tax burden on remaining taxpayers. OSRD provisions allow development on smaller lots, 10,000 square foot, as you've heard tonight, rather than the standard 40,000 square feet, while placing up to 70% of that parcel under permanent restriction, rendering that portion non-taxable. Given the substantial amount of protected land already in Essex, I believe it's appropriate to reconsider whether this bylaw continues to serve the town's financial and policy interests. So I know the planning board, 7 elected officials received a letter from the Attorney General, it was 5 pages, which basically said you can't make decisions based on the finances of the town. So congratulations to those 7 elected officials who are holding up to that. But we as a body do need to consider our finances. We're fortunate that we haven't passed an operational override in 20 years up until this evening. Congratulations to us for that. But this OSRD, we have a lot of protected land. We have more land under restriction. We love Essex. We don't want to see major developments. We want to see our land protected. I agree. But we cannot continue to take land off the tax roll. We shoulder that burden financially when we continue to do things like this. So I urge you to please vote in favor of Mr. Neal's citizens petition to remove the OSRD.
Hi, I'm Annie Martin. I live at 23 Pickering Street. I also work in housing policy for a nonprofit. I think this is a bad idea. This is the wrong time to be moving away from innovative solutions for housing, especially higher density housing as a Commonwealth. We are moving towards trying to figure out what innovative solutions we can use to produce more housing. Our state's in a shortage. You just heard Senator Tarr talk about how young people especially are being priced out of this state. So I don't know why we would be considering eliminating a key piece of our toolkit when we're already in a housing crisis. And then I would also just say, I've heard a lot of coded language tonight about like the character of this housing and what that means for Essex, and I would just encourage everyone to challenge the way that they're speaking about this housing and actually do some research into it.
Brian Gressler, 30 Choate. I think if we wanted to pass an article like this or make a change, then we would need to come up with a different solution. Simply eliminating all the rules isn't a solution. And so if we want to, if these are things we want to do, I'm all for citizen petitions. I'm all for this kind of citizens, bringing things forward for us to vote on. But eliminating without an alternate solution is not really a solution at all. It's just going backwards. Beyond that, one other quick thing, it does not cost, every time you add a student, the school has fixed costs. The building doesn't get bigger, the buses don't get, you don't get half a bus, you don't get a quarter of a teacher, right? You spread the cost you have over an additional student. It does not cost $29,000 every time you add a student. That's ridiculous.
I just wanted to be boring and provide more numbers. Brendan had the assessors compare what 31-acre parcels the value that the town would realize there versus 36 quarter-acre parcels. And they did a comparison there with equal value on the buildings, so I'm not going to talk about those, but 36 buildings of equal value will bring you more revenue than 30 buildings of equal value. But looking at the value of the land, which is how the assessments are done, value of the land and value of the building, the value of the land for 31-acre lots is $19,602 million. $19,602,000. And the value of 36 quarter-acre parcels is $18,993,000. So the 31-acre parcels are only a couple $100,000 more out of 19 million more valuable than the smaller lots. But it's also been demonstrated that open space property does increase in value more quickly. That's been demonstrated from state level and data. And the other thing to think about is the whole argument against kids in schools, which is not something we can consider, and Kate has pointed out is not something we should be talking about, but 30 homes on 1 acre lots will put probably just as many students as 36 homes on 1/4 acre lots. So that's a completely, this property would be developed one way or another. It's going to be developed, and the options would be 30 houses on 1 acre lots or 36 houses on 1/4 acre lots with 50 acres of open space. So it's not really an argument. It's
Yeah. Mike Dyer, Indian Rock Lane. Thanks, Lisa. You made a couple of the points that I was thinking of making. And as Rob Fitzgibbon pointed out, it's a tool, not a choice. In fact, the cluster zoning will probably result in savings to the developer in terms of infrastructure, road building, utilities in the ground, and all that sort of stuff. May make these homes slightly more affordable for the home buyers, and I think we should consider that some home buyers may appreciate the choice of smaller, more densely packed neighborhoods, similar to those that I think most of us probably grew up in back in the, well, a lot of gray hair, 60s and 70s, like Leave It to Beaver. I urge you to vote no.
Just one more comment, Tom DeMeo, 35 Water Street. All innovation is not equal, okay? Just because it's innovation doesn't mean it's always good. We could just do something really simple and decide to zone certain areas for more density. That's an option too. And it's a smarter, cleaner, more reliable option. There's no reason why we can't have more density. We just have to zone it. But having it be, you know, a variable situation where it might happen in your neighborhood or it might not, that's weird. We don't need this. We can just do basic zoning and do it right.
Tom Barrio, 39 Spring Street. There's lots of issues that are being brought into the conversation here. The OSRD bylaw allows the town to opt to do higher density development when it's appropriate and when certain conditions are met. Doesn't have to do it, but it gives us the option. The notion that Essex is overloaded with conservation land and we need to strike down this law to prevent that, it's a bit of a red herring. This town's character is defined by the marsh. The marsh is conservation land by state law, and that's why we have a lot of conservation land in this town. The notion that people are taking away money from the taxpayers when they bring land under conservation, again, it's a red herring. That's a state law. If people don't like the notion that bringing land under conservation protection makes it tax exempt, they have the right to fight that law in the state legislature. At a town level, it's merely something we have to obey.
Any further discussion? I don't see any. So all those in favor of Article 28, this is 2/3, by the way, it's a zoning bylaw. This is 2/3. So all those in favor of Article 28, raise your card. All opposed? The motion fails. Article 17.
And we're back. Hello, remember me? I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $28,125 and to transfer from water enterprise retained earnings the sum of $28,125 for a total appropriation of $56,250 to purchase a fully equipped mini excavator for the highway, cemetery, and water departments to replace the Department of Public Works' existing backhoe and anything incidental thereto, and further to authorize the Board of Public Works to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the purposes of this vote and dispose of the old backhoe by sale or trade.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
We have an old backhoe. We have a new backhoe. We want to get rid of the old one, and instead of replacing it with a big new backhoe, we're going to get a smaller mini excavator that's more appropriate for what we have to do with it. And as an added side benefit, it costs way less money.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17, raise your card.
Love it.
All opposed? Motion passes. Article 18, what?
What?
18.
Don't mess with me, Lisa. I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $20,293, to transfer from the water enterprise retained earnings the sum of $20,293, and to transfer from the sewer enterprise retained earnings the sum of $20,293 for a total appropriation of $60,879 for work order tracking and asset management software and anything incidental thereto.
Is there a second? Discussion.
We at the Department of Public Works have a lot of stuff buried in the street, sitting in our yard, at our water treatment plant. We also have a lot of different jobs that we do throughout town. This money is going to be used to purchase software that'll help us track work orders, it'll help us track our assets, and it'll help us in the long term to plan for capital planning and financing of work within the town.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Article 18, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 19.
I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to transfer from the Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings the sum of $17,000 to purchase and install security cameras at the water tower and anything incidental thereto.
Is there a second? Discussion?
We don't have security cameras at the water tower. We think it's a good idea to have security cameras at the water tower. So we're going to buy some.
All those in favor of Article 19, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 20.
I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $81,900 and to transfer from the water enterprise retained earnings the sum of $191,100 for a total appropriation of $273,000 as a match for federal funding for design and construction of water main replacement work and anything incidental thereto.
Second.
We got a state grant to do some water work in the street. This is funding that would essentially match that state grant and allow us to execute a project specifically on DeSoto Road to replace the undersized water main and loop it to connect it to a water main on Forest Ave.
Any further discussion? Nope. All those in favor of Article 20, raise your card. All opposed? Motion passes.
Oh, this is my favorite one.
Article 21.
I, Nick Ellis, move that the town vote to transfer from sewer retained earnings the sum of $125,000 for replacement of grinder pumps and related equipment and anything incidental thereto.
Is there a second? Discussion.
I come here every year and ask you guys for money for for grinder pumps. This is it. We're all done. After this, we'll be putting it in our maintenance budget because we won't have to replace them in large scale anymore. So that's what this is for.
Excellent. All those in favor of Article 21, raise your card. Opposed? I usually don't do this, but well done, Nick. We are on Article 23.
I, Peter Fippen, move that the town appropriate or reserve from fiscal year 2027 Community Preservation Fund estimated annual revenues or other available Community Preservation Act funds, all as specified on Community Preservation Act town meeting handout, which you all have. The amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for Open Space Reserve, Historic Resources Reserve, Community Housing Reserve, Budgeted Reserve, Administrative Expenses, and Special Projects or Transfers.
Is there a second? Discussion?
Sure. You see on the handout that there's 28,000 plus going to the three buckets: open space, historic, community housing, and then a large one for budgeted reserve. Some amount of money for administrative expenses, and then this year the Community Preservation Committee voted to approve two particular projects. One for $25,000 for floats at the town landing, and $35,000 for the Shipbuilding Museum to study 3 properties that they're looking at consolidating together as part of a campus that they want to look at. And this is just a study, doesn't include any construction or anything.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of Article 23, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 24.
I, Peter Fippen, move that the town vote to transfer from Town Technology Fund the sum of $5,000 for updating of operating system running on the town's virtual servers hosted by the town of Danvers and anything incidental thereto.
Is there a second?
No comment.
No comment, okay. All those in favor of Article 24, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 25.
I, Nina McKinnon, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $64,947 and to transfer from previous appropriations a sum of $110,990, all as shown on the town meeting handout for Article 25, for a total appropriation of $175,937 to fund the town's snow and ice deficit for fiscal year 2026.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Nope, nope, okay. All those in favor of Article 25, raise your card. Any opposed? Motion passes. Article 26.
I, Nina McKinnon, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $56,132 to replenish the Finance Committee's reserve fund for the remainder of fiscal year 2026.
Any discussion? All those in favor of Article 26, raise your card. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 27.
I, Nina McKinnon, move that the town vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $4,924 for the payment of unpaid bills from past fiscal years.
This takes a 4/5 vote, so all those in favor of Article 27, raise your card. Any opposed? Unanimous. That's a wrap. Motion to adjourn? Good. Don't have to take a vote. Not bad.